Our friends at Judicial Watch, well, they've really won a case against Fani Willis, but she continues to defy a court order, and we're going to talk to Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch right now so he can tell us exactly what it is that's going on. Tom, you're very welcome. How are you, my friend?
Simon, good to be with you, Phil. Thank you very much.
So Fani Willis, you believe, is hiding records now of communications with the January 6th committee, and she says there are no records of any communication with the special prosecutor Jack Smith. You don't believe that, right?
No, I don't, because she initially told us there were no records of communications with Pelosi or anyone else, and it turns out there are. And so now this is her, I think, fourth time searching for records, and now she's found them only after Judicial Watch and a court called her out. I mean, the court last week found her in default because, forget about, arguing over what records she's going to give or don't give. It's unusual for a government official not to show up in court, and she didn't do that, and she was found in default. So she finally said, "Okay, right. I'll give you some I'll tell you the records I do have," but then she doesn't want to turn them over, citing all sorts of exemptions and privileges.
So I'm not sure where you go with this. You'll know, obviously, because you're sure these things exist. There's a court order saying you have to produce them. She's saying some she can't hand over because of privileges, despite the court order, and others don't exist, and you don't believe that, but I don't know what you do about it.
Well, we just have to litigate it further. Where did they search? What are these privileges about? How many records are they? Describe more fully your reasons for the withholdings. I don't think she complied with the court order in that regard, and we'll push back. This case is dead in the water, the case that she's hiding these records about. So what's the big issue about releasing them? And we're not asking for internal deliberations necessarily. We want to know her communications with the federal government, the January 6th committee, the Congress, and the Bush administration, the Biden administration, Freudian slip, about, their anti-Trump activities. How is that not in the public interest? And all these,
right, well, of course it is.
And all these privileges, they're all discretionary. That means she doesn't have to insist upon them.
So, could you go at this the other end? Could you go after Jack Smith and say, I want all communications that you had with Fani Willis?
Yes, and I think we have. Now, Congress, Benny Thompson, who knows what they destroyed on their way out the door? And Congress isn't subject to FOIA. And Jack Smith at this point they're probably going to say the same thing, internal deliberations and such. It's such a game. But this is what you have Judicial Watch for. This case is a relatively young case in the sense that, it's only been since March when we've litigated stuff that goes on for years. And, yeah, I'm willing to fight harder and longer here in terms of getting this information because it's so important to what I think is one of the worst corruption scandals in American history, the prosecutorial targeting in a corrupt way of President Trump by his political opponents.
I mean, you're absolutely right. This is exactly what happened. And who did the targeting remains to be seen. But there's no question this was what has become known as lawfare. There's no question that that's what we're looking at here. And yes, we need to get to the bottom of it. And I thank you for trying to do that because I don't think anybody else is trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean, the lawyers down there are trying to get the case thrown out, which is fine. But there's got to be some public accountability and understanding of how this came about. And frankly, the Trump administration, when they come in, they should be asking these questions too. But in the meantime, we'll do the heavy lifting.
Well, Pam Bondi is not shy. And I have no doubt that if there's anything for her to look at, she will dig. I've no doubt about that at all.
Well, we hope she does, but in the meantime, that's kind of why we do what we do, because, whether they do or not, we're just going to keep on keeping on, trying to find out what Fani Willis is up to. And we already kind of know what she's up to, right? She just confirmed that her office essentially lied to us when they said they had no documents about talking to the Pelosi operation. Now we know they have. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. What sanctions can the judge put on them for that?
Well, our legal response is, we're going to file something, obviously, to try to get some, more information. So I defer to the lawyers, but, I want the strongest possible sanction and court-ordered supervision, and whatever the court can do, the court should do. But I'm just the client for Judicial Watch in this case. I'll defer to the lawyers as to what we actually asked for.
Okay, well, clearly something needs to happen, because it's outrageous, and that is the correct word, right? It truly is. It is absolutely outrageous what Fani Willis has done. It's outrageous.
We've been doing FOIA cases for 30 years. We've never had a government official not show up in court. And, even if they sometimes go into default accidentally because of some snafu, here they couldn't even undo and fought about being held in default, despite all sorts of opportunities to fix it. Kind of shows you either, I don't know, incompetence or just contempt for the process. Either way, it's not reassuring as to what it says about the prosecution of Trump. Of course, we know so much about that prosecution was marred by her ethical misconduct, and this is part of that piece.
Tom Fitton, if people want to find out more about Judicial Watch, where do they go, my friend?
They go to judicialwatch.org, judicialwatch.org, and of course we're all over social media, and, I don't know what we're going to have in the briefs coming up, so people should come back soon and go to the site often to find out more about this case as it proceeds.
Yes, and if you want to support the work of Judicial Watch, this is a good time of year to do it, because we're almost at the end of the year, and Judicial Watch is a .org, or 501c3, are you?
That's right, so people can make tax-deductible contributions.
There you go.
If you're upset about what's going on here in D.C. and, frankly, in Fulton County, Georgia, I could think of worse things to do than to support Judicial Watch, because we give you a voice in these corruption battles.
And, we're so near the end of the year. If you file your taxes on time, you will be getting that deduction pretty quickly. Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch, always a pleasure, my friend. Appreciate having you on, and you take care. Have yourself a great rest of the day.
You too, and Merry Christmas, Simon, if I don't talk to you.
Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah to you, too.